industry analysis. So, what we have covered so far of the GEIC analysis, we have covered the global aspects, we have covered the economic aspects, and now we come to the industry analysis as part of the GEIC analysis. Now, how do we do the analysis of industry? So let me combine this together with also economic analysis. Now, if we have to do the industry analysis, simultaneously also review understanding of economic analysis. So, as part of the economic analysis, what we have discussed and understood as to the things that we need to look at as part of the economic analysis is the technology, market, political, legal, environment, social, and global. So that is what we need to look at for getting a good handle on the economic analysis or macroeconomic analysis, which is at the economy level. Now, when it comes to the industry analysis, what we do, we use Michael Porter's five forces model. Now, what is Michael Porter's five forces model? Now, this model tells you as to how attractive or unattractive an industry is for anyone to venture into that industry. And depending on the attractiveness or lack of attractiveness of that industry, we will be able to get an idea as to what kind of valuations a company which is in that industry will get. So, what are the five forces of Michael Porter's five force model, and how do you determine as to whether the industry is attractive or industry is not attractive? So, Michael Porter talks about the first factor, and that he talks about is the bargaining, or that he talks about the threat of new entrants. क्या मतलब है कहने का मतलब ये है कि क्या इस इंडस्ट्री में कोई भी कभी भी आ सकता है क्या, एंड आप समझ सकते हैं अगर एंट्री इज फ्री इन एनी इंडस्ट्री, it gives an idea that industry is not attractive. And why that industry is not attractive? Because if anyone can enter in that industry, the competition can intensify anytime. And when the competition will intensify anytime, obviously the profitability of the players that we are talking about will be under threat. And that is how you would look at it. So if there is a threat of new entrants, industry is not attractive. If it is difficult for a new player to enter the industry, that means that industry is attractive for the existing players. And that is force number one that the Michael Porter talks about. Then Michael Porter talks about the bargaining power of the buyers. यानी कि जो आपके कस्टमर हैं, अगर आप एक कंपनी हैं इन अ पर्टिकुलर इंडस्ट्री, और जो आपके कस्टमर हैं, कि क्या आपके कस्टमर डिक्टेट करते हैं आपको टर्म्स, या फिर आप कस्टमर्स को टर्म्स डिक्टेट करते हो. तो अगर आपका प्रोडक्ट ऐसा है या जिस इंडस्ट्री में आप हो वो इंडस्ट्री ऐसी है कि कस्टमर्स आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन यू, दैट मीन्स दैट इंडस्ट्री इज अट्रैक्टिव, दैट any company in that industry will get good valuations. But if it is other way around, that means if you are dependent on the customer, that means that industry is not that attractive, and therefore companies in that industry will not get that attractive valuation. Then the Michael Porter talks about the third force, and the third force is power of suppliers. So ultimately any company, any manufacturing company in any industry will require raw material, and that means that company will have to depend on the suppliers, on the vendors, on the suppliers. So how is it? Is it that the company has to depend on the suppliers, or suppliers have to depend on the company to give them the order? सो अगर सप्लायर्स की बार्गेनिंग पावर मजबूत है, यानी कि सप्लायर अगर टर्म्स को डिक्टेट करते हैं, इसका मतलब सप्लायर्स आर इन अ गुड पोजीशन, and that means this industry is not an attractive one for the existing, for the operators, and therefore these companies will not get very good valuations. And if it is the other way around, that means if the suppliers are depending on the company for getting the orders for their own operations, and that means the suppliers do not have much bargaining power, and that means this industry is attractive for the existing players. And then Michael Porter talks about the fourth force, and that fourth force is threat of substitutes. यानी कि क्या, यानी कि ये जो इंडस्ट्री है और इसका जो प्रोडक्ट है, क्या ये प्रोडक्ट किसी और, या जो ये जो प्रोडक्ट है इसकी जो यूटिलिटी है, इसका जो यूज़ है, क्या ये यूटिलिटी और यूज़ या एप्लीकेशन कैन बी सब्सटीट्यूटेड बाय इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ अनदर प्रोडक्ट. And if that be the case, it is not a good sign for the industry. But if the product or the service of the industry cannot be substituted by anything else, that means it is good for the industry. That means that industry is that much more attractive. And finally, Michael Porter talks about the fifth force, and the fifth force is a rivalry among the existing firms. So, is it that there is a cutthroat competition among the players in the industry, or the size of the cake is big enough and therefore all the players are happy and they are not indulging into cutthroat competition, they are not entering into price war, they are not entering into any kind of thing that is to bring the competition down. So if the rivalry among the players is positive or is less, that means that much attractive this industry is. But if the rivalry among the competitors is intense, that means it is a bad sign for the industry, and that means the players in that industry will not get very good valuations. So friends, this is how you will do the industry analysis using the Michael Porter's 5 forces model. Michael Porter's 5 forces model. And that is what, whenever you are doing valuation for any company, always apply Michael Porter's 5 forces model to the situation that you are trying to value, and this obviously will give you very interesting perspective.